evolutionary process, then not only does society change and evolve, also do our opinions about marriage, sexuality, and things of this nature. That's what they're basically saying here, that the Christian community is basically out of step and out of touch with reality. The third thing that they were achieving, which has been achieved very, very clearly, conversion of the average American's emotions, mind, and will through a planned psychological attack in the form of propaganda fed to the nation via the media. It isn't enough that anti-gay bigots should become confused about us or indifferent to us. We're safest if we can actually make them like us. Conversion aims at just this. When you say like us, you're not saying that we want you to convert to our lifestyle. It's just that there's an acceptance of our lifestyle. He said our total goal is to convert the emotions, the mind, and the will of the American people. Church, just some of these things are just an attempt to convert the mindset of America about the gay lifestyle, and they've been very, very successful in that process. But some of it has those who believe the Bible is the authority, and that becomes our bedrock and our foundation of truth for our beliefs about marriage and sexuality. Now I want us to look at the opinions of the court and who has become a casualty, what I call, of this war. First of all, Proposition 8. Proposition 8 in 2008 was a proposition in California that was going to say that marriage was between a man and a woman. It passed. Unfortunately, the CEO of Mozilla, Brendan Eich, was terminated and lost his job because he supported and donated money to the Proposition 8 agenda. Not only that, but there was a gentleman that was very irate about it. He wrote a column called the title is, it's not my notes, it just slips in my mind. Something about the bigots. This is what he said anyway. It was published in a magazine in LA. He said, listen, why do these people still have a job? Referring to this man here. There's 35,000 people that donated to the Proposition 8 campaign. And so he created a hit list. Salatin, I think, is the author's name. He created a hit list of their name, address, their employer, and how much they gave. And the LA Times printed it. But Mr. Eich lost his job. What about Aaron and Melissa Klein? 2013. This has been common. This has been all the news back at that time. Refused to bake a cake for a same-sex marriage ceremony. They were ordered to pay $135,000 by the Oregon Bureau of Labor. Just before Christmas in 2015, their bank account was drained. The clients no longer have a business because they stood up for their religious conviction. Remember, somebody said, when sexual liberty collides with religious liberty, I find no reason that religious liberty should win. Why? Right? The second one has to do with Arlene's Flowers. A homosexual customer wanted flowers for his homosexual wedding. She refused. Attorney General of Washington filed charges against her, and he said she is to provide the flowers or face charges. Look at Mr. Phillips Bakery. The next one. 2013, Mr. Phillips refused to bake a cake for a homosexual union. Colorado Star Chamber ordered Mr. Phillips to die of faith by baking the cake, go out of business, or face charges. I think it's Dr. Walsh. Here's the lay minister for the Seventh-day Adventist. He worked under the Bush administration and under the Obama administration as well. He was hired in 2014 as the district health director of Georgia. After he was hired, he was asked to submit one of his sermons. So he submitted the sermon. In that sermon, he took position for the biblical position for marriage and sexuality. And guess what? He lost his job. Look at, give me the next one. I forget what the next one. The Atlanta fire chief, Kevin Cochran, was fired for his personally held beliefs about sexuality and marriage. Give me the next one. Dr. Angela McCaskill was a professor at University in Washington, D.C., was suspended for her job for signing a petition at her local church, which called for a public vote on same-sex marriage. And then the last one is a very contemporary one. Chip and Joanna Gaines ran the program Fixer Upper. Publicly vilified and ridiculed simply because they attended a church whose pastor took a position. I want to pause right here. I hope that doesn't happen to people at Gateway. These people that have been with me all these years are wonderful people. They're very compassionate people. And I trust that when you go out in the community, that you're not vilified because Ron Shaw took a stand on what he believes. Whether one believes I'm right or wrong, that's not the purpose. It's just share with what I believe is happening in America. So I hope and trust that you, when you go to your places of employment or when you're recognized in the community or whatever the case may be, that you're not vilified because your senior pastor has decided to take a position. Now here's the dilemma. Let's change gears a little bit. Here's the dilemma. Let's clearly define the battle, okay? Let me clearly define it. And then I'm going to show you what's happening, where we're at. It's my responsibility as a pastor to take a stand for whatever I feel the Bible teaches, okay? And so there is this battle between the cultural view versus the biblical view of marriage and sexuality. It's my belief that the biblical view of marriage is found in Genesis chapter 2, where God put Adam and Eve together, created them from the dust of the earth, or Adam from the dust of the earth and Eve from the rib of man. And he simply said, you two shall become one flesh. And in Matthew 19, Jesus validated what took place in Genesis 2 by simply saying, listen, a man shall leave his father and mother and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So he's bringing in the biblical account of the Old Testament, tying it in with the New Testament as well. We believe, and I believe, that the Bible simply says that the sexual experience is only valid and is only permissible within the context of a biblical marriage, which is between a man and a woman. And it's my belief that anything outside of that would constitute wrong. All right? That's my belief. That's what I stand on. That's what I feel. All right? That's the biblical belief. And yet we have a cultural view that is different, diametrically opposed to that. They believe that marriage can be between people of the same sex. Now that's become legal. All right? Marriage can be of the same sex. And that sex can be expressed within that union. You see, you have a right to believe that. I've already said, I give you that right. I support your right. I believe you can do that if you want to, because God granted you that right. The state gives you that right. But see, my view is different than that. It's different than that. I don't embrace that. That's why and you'd have to have your head in the sand not to know that there hadn't been a colliding of those two views for a long time, people. There have. And where did it end up? In the Supreme Court. And guess who won? Not the biblical view, the cultural view of marriage and sexuality. Now here's the predicament that is produced. Here's the predicament. Our government is giving preferred status to the cultural view of marriage and sexuality. You say, what difference does that make? Here's the difference it makes. That when I take a stand, it puts me in direct opposition to the laws of the land. Anybody listening to me? That's what it does. Ask the Kleins who lost their business and don't have a bakery anymore, who won in that case. Ask Mr. Phillips' bakery. You know what he decided to do? Instead of fighting, he just decided to stop baking cakes. Baking marriage cakes. He just baked everything else. Ask some of these people who have lost their jobs because of their religious belief, if they're not in the crosshair. Right? And so I feel that this plan that had been put together in 1987 has been a very successful plan. Because their crowning victory was in June of 2015, because two brilliant men had some concepts and ideas and they pinned them. And I read in one place where it says it has become the Bible of the gay movement. Listen, it was a brilliant document. There's nothing wrong with it as far as a strategy to accomplish an objective. It's brilliant. Because the crowning victory was in June of last year. Now, I want to change gears because I want to move into something else. Give me the lifestyle graphic. Lifestyle.